With the death of President Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson turned into the 17th leader of the US 1865-1869, a dated Southern Jacksonian leftist of articulated states, freedom's seas. With the death of Lincoln, the administration fell upon a dated Southern Jacksonian liberal of articulated states, privileges seas. Albeit a genuine and decent man, Andrew Johnson was one of the most awful of presidents. Displayed against him were the extreme conservatives in Congress, splendidly drove and savage in their strategies. Johnson was no counterpart for them. Brought into the world in Raleigh, North Carolina, in 1808, Johnson experienced childhood in destitution. He was apprenticed to a designer as a kid, yet took off. He opened a designer shop in Greenville, Tennessee, wedded Eliza McCardle, and partook in banters at the Neighborhood Foundation. Entering legislative issues, he turned into an adroit stump speaker, supporting the everyday person and attacking the manor privileged. As an individual from the place of delegates and the Senate in the 1840s and 50s, he pushed a property bill to give a free homestead to the unfortunate man. During the severance emergency, Johnson stayed in the Senate in any event. When Tennessee withdrew, which made him a legend in the North and a deceiver according to most Southerners. In 1862, President Lincoln designated him military legislative leader of Tennessee, and Johnson involved the state as a lab for reproduction. In 1864, the Conservatives, fighting that their public association party was for all dependable men, selected Johnson, a Southerner and a liberal, for VP. After Lincoln's demise, President Johnson continued to reproduce the previous Confederate states while Congress was not in meeting in 1865. He acquitted all who might make a vow of loyalty. However, expected pioneers and men of abundance to acquire exceptional official pardons by the time Congress met in December 1865. Most Southern states were reproduced. Bondage was being canceled, yet dark codes to manage the freedmen were starting to show up. Extremist conservatives in Congress moved enthusiastically to change Johnson's program. They acquired the help of Northerners who were terrified to see Southerners keeping numerous pre-war pioneers and forcing numerous pre-war limitations upon Negroes. The extremists' initial step was to decline to situate any congressperson or agent from the old alliance. Next, they passed measures managing the previous slaves. Johnson rejected the regulation. The extremists gathered an adequate number of votes in Congress to disregard regulation. His denial whenever that Congress first had superseded a president on a significant bill. They passed the Social Liberties Demonstration of 1866, which laid out Negroes as American residents and restricted victimization them. A couple of months after the fact, Congress submitted to the states the 14th Amendment, which indicated that no state ought to deny any individual of life, freedom, or property, without fair treatment of regulation. Every one of the previous Confederate states aside from Tennessee would not endorse the change. Further, there were two horrendous race riots in the South. Talking in the Center-West, Johnson confronted antagonistic crowds. The extreme conservatives won a staggering triumph in legislative decisions that fall. In Walk 1867, the extremists effected their own arrangement of remaking, again setting Southern states under military rule. They passed regulations setting limitations upon the president. At the point when Johnson purportedly disregarded one of these, the Residency of Office Act, by excusing Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton, the House casted a ballot 11 articles of indictment against him. He was attempted by the Senate in the spring of 1868 and vindicated by one vote. In 1875, Tennessee returned Johnson to the Senate. He kicked the bucket a couple of months after the fact.